Obviously now we're in a completely different place. People are brands, investors, owners. I mean, everybody is coming to the table and understanding that women's sports is good business. It's such a fun and exciting time. And I am glad I've stuck with it all these years to get to be part of what's now very exciting.
Welcome back to WNBACORE. WNBA fans, we have a major story developing. Caitlin Clark's treatment in the league has now drawn attention from lawmakers with calls for accountability and the possibility of federal investigation being raised. But what exactly happened? What is Caitlin Clark's camp saying? And why is WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert facing so much pressure? Let's jump straight into today's video and break it all down. The WNBA is experiencing a huge development that has nothing to do with final scores or highlight clips. What began as a few hard fouls against Caitlin Clark has turned into something far more dangerous than anyone could have predicted. Fans may never fully understand what's going on behind the scenes due to the intense terror in the boardroom, government-level investigations, and rumors of federal participation. Consider it. How recently have you heard of the Department of Justice taking a quick look at a professional sports league? Very seldom. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to hit the like button and subscribe to WNBACORE. Believe it or not, over 93% of our viewers haven't subscribed yet. It's completely free, takes just a second, and helps us keep bringing you quality sports breakdowns. Have you subscribed already? Excellent, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's jump back into the story. However, Clark's treatment on the court is now making its way to the desks of federal investigators, legislators, and lawyers with ties to Washington. Here's the startling turn of events. This was not an accident. Insiders claim that every shove, blindside hit, and careless foul was monitored, recorded, and subtly incorporated into a system that resembles a legal chess game more than basketball. The WNBA believed that this was about sports. But Caitlin Clark's team simply made it into a conflict that the league might no longer be able to manage. This is no longer a single rookie tale. This is a tale about money, power, and how the biggest star in women's basketball just pushed the league into an unexpected confrontation. Everything appears straightforward at first glance. The most anticipated rookie in WNBA history was Caitlin Clark. With sold-out venues, record-breaking ratings, and unprecedented interest for women's basketball, she was positioned as the athlete who would bring the WNBA into the mainstream, the future, and a golden ticket. However, something sinister emerged along with that attention. From the start, Clark was not only put to the test, but also singled out. The clips were widely viewed by fans. Without hesitation, Chindy Carter blindsided her in front of the cameras as if it were an NFL play. Diamond DeShields charged into her. It appeared more like a hockey fight than a basketball game because Marina Mabrey shoved her so forcefully in the hopes that no one would notice. Even veteran Tina Charles sneaked in a cheap shot to Clark's back. These were not standalone plays. These videos became a theme and a pattern, and they went viral on social media. The story was predictable at start. Greetings from the W. She needs to toughen up. Analysts argued it was written off by commentators as a sign of her inexperience, and the executives of the league remained silent. There were no firm declarations, no cautions, and not even a trace of discipline. Fans, however, didn't accept the justification. They witnessed the popular compilations, the hashtags pleading for safety, and the slow-motion footage in which Clark was consistently struck harder than anyone else on the floor. What appeared to be a formidable defense soon became something much darker. One player's back is clearly the target. Additionally, Clark's intimate group perceived it differently from the media, which dismissed it as typical rookie hazing. They observed a pattern that could be weaponized, exploited, and ultimately turned into a federal problem for which the WNBA would never be prepared. These weren't sporadic infractions or plays made in the heat of the moment. They were a conscious attempt to test Caitlin Clark, disrupt her rhythm, and make her reconsider each time she touched the ball. They were a part of a broader culture. Players freely acknowledged it in dressing rooms. There was a clear message being given to Clark: you have to pay a fee to enter this league and take control. This is where things get risky, though. The secrecy surrounding those admissions was short-lived. One of the strongest networks in all of sports, Clark's representation was secretly keeping score. Like evidence in a case file, every shove, elbow, and comment from an opponent or teammate was recorded, timestamped, and categorized. They weren't just upset that Clark had been roughed up on the court. Instead, they were constructing a case to move the discussion from basketball to the legal and political spheres. Take a moment to consider that her team was already 3 steps ahead, portraying her treatment as workplace harassment rather than sporting drama. While fans argued whether she just needed to toughen up, when you use the term harassment, the game is entirely altered because harassment takes place in federal offices where the language of civil rights law becomes the playbook rather than in locker rooms or ESPN studios. Since they had expected this from the beginning, Clark's camp understood exactly what they were doing. They were aware that a celebrity with her prominence would encounter physical targeting, animosity, and jealousy. They therefore got ready for it, turned it into a weapon, and bided their time till the ideal opportunity to use it. For everyone else, the increase seemed abrupt because of this. Because Clark's crew had previously arranged the pieces like a chessboard, prepared to push the WNBA into an unavoidable corner while the league was asleep at the wheel. The moment Washington was drawn into the storm marked a turning point. What appeared to the general public to be just another sports scandal abruptly gained federal attention, and it began with only one letter. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert received an official notification from Senator Jim Banks. Insiders knew it was anything but random, even though the majority dismissed it as political posturing. The purpose of that letter was not to make headlines. It was timed intentionally, legally accurate, prepared for the record, and intended to produce a paper trail that would lead to government review. Here's why that's important. Press conferences are not necessary for federal agencies such as the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission or the Department of Justice to take action. They are not required to make public threats or announce investigations. For Clark's camp to covertly start preliminary reviews behind the scenes, all they need is one plausible trigger, such as a letter from a senator or the mountain of documented material they have been gathering. Internal notes are recorded, phone calls are made, information is asked, and nobody outside those offices is even aware of it until it suddenly becomes widely known. This is no longer about hard fouls or missed calls. Discrimination and harassment at work are governed by Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. And if it can be demonstrated that Clark's treatment is different from that of other players, particularly if it is related to her gender, race, or status, then the WNBA is now dealing with more than simply a public relations issue. They are facing possible exposure to the federal government. Federal exposure also entails mandatory transparency, reforms, and the worst-case scenario for any sports league. Discovery is the legal procedure that brings every private correspondence, internal email, and unsaid truth to light. WNBA executives should be terrified by the economic realities if the legal aspect wasn't. The statistics show that Caitlin Clark is more than simply a rookie. She is the league's most valued asset ever. Sales of products have increased by more than 600% since her debut. Subscriptions for League Pass have increased by over 60%. Additionally, the TV ratings for the games she plays are doubled or even tripled when compared to the games she doesn't. The instant her name appears on the agenda, even ticket prices soar. Growth isn't that. Dependency is that, and the league is aware of this. Clark's body is not the only thing at stake with every shove and unprotected foul. The league's finances are directly at risk. What would happen if Clark suffered a severe injury as a result of this targeting? Viewership declines. The WNBA's spectacular rise falls overnight as sponsors begin to ask awkward questions and momentum slows. Because of this, insiders claim that Clark's team has already weaponized these numbers without ever having to threaten anyone. They let the league do the math, only pointing to the statistics. You are betting on the future of the sport if you are unable to defend the one player who is essential to your financial existence. Additionally, because sponsors, networks, and investors don't accept uncertainty, it is impossible to disregard that kind of leverage. These days, it's more than just fouls. The question is whether the WNBA is prepared to jeopardize its own golden era by declining to defend the player who enabled it. And the league is in for a harsh awakening if it believes that money won't determine its next course of action. Because the only thing that matters to economics is results, not justifications. This is where things become even more chaotic, the conflict of cultures at the core of this league. Caitlin Clark is not your typical rookie. She is a heterosexual white lady entering an openly LGBTQ+ and largely black league. That shouldn't matter on the court. Basketball is just that, basketball. However, behind the scenes, those relationships produce animosity, jealousy, and a cultural clash that no one in the league office wants to discuss. Candace Wiggins, a former WNBA star, issued a warning about this years ago when she claimed to have been shunned by the league due to her sexual orientation. Even though her testimony was disregarded at the time, people are now viewing it differently. Did she describe the precise culture that Clark is currently dealing with? A tale was even revealed via the All-Star voting. With 1.3 million fan votes, more than any player in league history, Clark broke all previous records. However, she landed in 8th place among guards in the player-only voting. That is a matter of resentment more than skill. Dick Vitale and other analysts were quick to identify it as envy. Furthermore, jealousy in athletics is not always benign. It turns into selective rule enforcement, hard fouls, and cold shoulders. According to insiders, referees have also expressed the opinion that Clark's ascent has to be controlled. This entails allowing her to engage in more physical play when she's on the court. It's not a difficult defense. Discrimination is what that is. Clark's camp is aware of this. They are not portraying this as harsh rivalry. They are portraying it as identity and status-related workplace harassment. Federal civil rights legislation was created to specifically address this type of prejudice. Because of this, the issue is no longer limited to basketball. It's a cultural flashpoint that has the potential to blow up well beyond the WNBA. What really scares the WNBA is as follows: the overhanging shadow of discovery, not the headlines or the popular hashtags. Because once something enters federal terrain, all internal memos, emails, and private conversations may be made public. Every office has unsightly receipts. Let's be honest, executives use emails to complain, refs converse in group conversations, and coaches make remarks on ESPN's front page that they would never want to see. However, all of it becomes evidence if Clark's case turns into a civil rights dispute. Imagine the consequences if investigators find messages in which executives minimized occurrences, made fun of complaints, or acknowledged that they would let the players handle it. All of a sudden, rivalries and fouls are no longer relevant. It has to do with institutional failure at the highest level, bias, and carelessness. Additionally, the discovery might affect referees, team personnel, and possibly player-coach communications in addition to the league office. In federal court, every text, note, and allegedly innocuous joke might be used as a weapon against the league. Because of this, insiders claim that league attorneys are currently working extra hours to prepare for future events rather than to halt what has already occurred. Because sponsors, media outlets, and watchdog organizations won't simply look inside once the door to discovery opens. Everything will be brought to light by them, and the WNBA won't be the end of the harm. The parent league, the NBA, might be involved. Sponsors that support an organization that is being investigated may come under fire, and networks would have to justify why they ignored Clark's abuse while profiting from her viewership. Decades of brand building could be destroyed overnight with just one lawsuit, one unsealed document, and one exposed email. And Clark's crew is aware that they have the subtle but lethal ability to make the league reveal its own dark secrets to the world. The media juggernaut that has already spun out of control is the actual accelerant for the WNBA if attorneys and government agencies weren't enough to frighten them. These days, Caitlin Clark is more than simply a basketball player. She is an enduring trending topic, a hashtag, and a headline. Every shove, foul, and silence from the league becomes viral online. In addition to happening on the court, millions of people view TikTok edits overnight. Dramatic music makes slow-motion replays go viral, and followers demand answers during days-long Twitter arguments. Talk programs, podcasts, and even late-night comedians are offering their opinions, portraying Clark as either the golden girl who can't bear the heat or the victim of deliberate bullying. In either case, she is always in the spotlight. This is what puts the league in jeopardy. The WNBA no longer controls the mainstream narrative. Influencers, viral videos, and popular indignation are driving it. Furthermore, nothing the commissioner says can match a 30-second long highlight that goes viral on social media. On stage, celebrities are jumping onto musicians wearing Clark's jersey. In interviews, actors call her names. In their acts, comedians make fun of the league. She is more than just an athlete now. She is a representation. Furthermore, the story doesn't stay in athletics once you cross that line. It gets involved in the conflict of cultures. It gets louder the more the WNBA attempts to ignore it. More skepticism is fueled by vague comments. Outrage increases when there is silence. Additionally, each viral article weakens the league's reputation while increasing Clark's power. She's not simply playing hoops at this point. She's outperforming the league in the media game. And the court of public opinion has already begun rendering its decision whether the WNBA agrees or not. It's not just what's happening that makes this entire drama so fascinating. It's also when it's happening. The issue surrounding Caitlin Clark's camp was not an accident. Every action, quiet, and well-chosen remark seems to be a part of a scheme that is timed to the exact moment. Consider it. Just when her debut season is generating record-breaking ratings, the harsh fouls start to mount. As internet indignation grows, the league remains silent, allowing frustration to flare up on its own. Subtle clues concerning harassment and selective enforcement are then dropped by Clark's team, building public compassion into pressure without ever saying too much, just as rumors of federal interest start to spread. This is deliberate rather than chaotic in order for the effect to strike like a championship wave when they do speak or file something official. They have allowed the indignation to breathe, letting fans and the media do the heavy job. Additionally, the WNBA's timing couldn't be worse. The league is attempting to position itself as the next big thing this year, presenting growth and relevance like never before to sponsors, networks, and fans. However, viral videos of Clark being attacked on the court convey a different message than flashy advertising ads that promise a bright future, a tale of a league's inability to keep its best star safe. Even the quiet seems deliberate. By remaining silent, Clark's camp is allowing the tension to grow until the league is compelled to make errors, compelled to make defensive remarks that only serve to weaken their position. It's no longer a fight. It's a game of chess. Clark's team isn't playing for sympathy either. At the most vulnerable time in the league's history, they are playing for maximum leverage. Timing isn't the only factor in high-stakes confrontations like these. It's the distinction between creating history and creating noise. What does this all mean for us? Caitlin Clark is no longer merely a novice attempting to make it through the most difficult time in her life. Lawyers, lawmakers, federal investigators, corporate sponsors, and millions of followers are all keeping an eye on her every step as she becomes the center of a storm. What started out as a few hard fouls has developed into something that has the potential to permanently alter professional sports. The WNBA won't simply have to answer for its silence if Clark's camp continues to press. It has the potential to alter rules, establish legal precedent, and alter how all American leagues handle their players. Because if an athlete demonstrates that discrimination, harassment, or civil rights infractions can be used to justify targeted treatment, the door opens and it becomes impossible to defend the way the game is played. It is proof. Executives in every sport are silently hoping that this terrifying situation never occurs. However, Caitlin Clark's case is already too significant to handle. She is no longer merely protecting herself. She's pushing the boundaries of what constitutes abuse and competition. She is opposing a system that has instructed players to toughen up, keep quiet, and make sacrifices for the brand for decades. This won't end with the WNBA if she is successful. It will have an impact on collegiate athletics, the NBA, the NFL, and other sports, changing the power dynamics between leagues and players. Because of this story has nothing to do with basketball. No league has ever been ready to deal with the collision of power, money, culture, and identity. Caitlin Clark is at a pivotal moment in sports history. One thing is certain. Regardless of whether you adore her, despise her, or just can't take your eyes off of her, there is more going on here than just a game. It's a real-time revolution. And the WNBA is learning the hard way that trying to quiet your brightest star runs the danger of not only losing control of your league, but also permanently altering the course of sports.